Hey there, future managers. Welcome to This Explainer. If you're currently studying Introduction to Management, you've probably already realized that making a brilliant, foolproof plan is really only half the battle, right? Today, we're going to take those dry academic theories of control and transform them into your ultimate practical management survival kit. Let's start by totally challenging a common misconception. When you finally step into a leadership role, you might think control just means micromanagement. But honestly, it really isn't. The real question is, how are you going to tame the completely unpredictable chaos of day-to-day operations without, breathing down everyone's neck? How do you actually ensure the organization achieves what it set out to do?
Well, here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the essence of management control, rules for effective control, the manager's budget toolkit, the pros and cons of budgeting, and then finally, we'll look beyond budgets at alternative controls.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the essence of management control, which is really best thought of as a flexible guidance system. At its core, effective control is not some rigid cage. It literally has to be flexible to accommodate changed circumstances. The source material highlights a great example with the Bangladesh Open University's computerized admission system. When a course's enrollment hits its cap, the system automatically stops general admissions. But, and here is the crucial flexibility, it's designed to dynamically accommodate exceptions, like senior students who absolutely must take that specific course to graduate. Your control systems need that exact same kind of intelligent adaptability.
Moving right along to Section 2, Rules for Effective Control. This is all about building your foundation.
The source text lays out exactly 9 blueprints for making control systems actually work. Starting with the first 3, you absolutely must match your controls to specific plans, ensure flexibility, and, above all, ensure accuracy. Think about it. If a manager gets artificially high sales estimates, they might mistakenly cut an advertising budget, thinking it's not needed, or conversely, pump it up to push sales even higher. Both actions could be an absolute disaster if they're based on bad data.
Next up, an effective system has to be objective and it has to achieve economy. That simply means it needs to bring departures from plans to light at a minimum cost to the business. Oh, and here's a big one. It must be tailored to the individual manager. If a system spits out reports that a manager simply doesn't understand, they aren't going to trust it. And if they don't trust it, they literally won't use it. It's that simple.
And let's look at the final 3 rules. Your systems should point out exceptions, fit the existing organizational culture, and trigger corrective action. That last one is the real kicker. Control is completely unjustified unless those deviations from your plans are actively corrected by the right authority. I mean, spotting a problem is completely useless if no one is actually empowered to go in and fix it.
Okay, Section 3, the Manager's Budget Toolkit. Think of this as the heavy machinery of management.
Budgets are the foundation of most control systems, and financial budgets, they are the absolute bedrock. They detail exactly where the organization expects to get its cash, like from sales or loans, and exactly how it plans to spend it on major assets and operations. A capital expenditure budget, for instance, strictly monitors the massive investments you need for things like buying new land or heavy machinery.
Now, in contrast to financial budgets, operating budgets are an expression of periodic activities. They focus on anticipated sales, expenses, and expected profit. But hey, don't forget non-monetary budgets. Not everything is about dollars and cents in business. These budgets help supervisors track physical operational units, stuff like direct labor hours, machine hours, or raw units of output.
As a management student, you've really got to learn to carefully account for all cost types when building these budgets. Fixed costs stay exactly the same regardless of your operations. Variable costs scale with production, so you anchor your calculations in real-world metrics, like raw materials costing exactly 5 taka per unit. And then you have the tricky semi-variable costs, like maintenance, which do vary, but not in a perfectly direct relation to your operations.
And this brings us to a highly specialized tool mentioned in the text called Zero-Based Budgeting, or ZBB. Instead of just taking last year's budget and lazily slapping on an extra 5%, ZBB forces you to justify every single program package totally from scratch. 0. The packages are ranked by importance, and funds are allocated based on that. It's a fantastic way to review older, entrenched programs against fresh initiatives to ensure you aren't just funding something out of pure habit.
Section 4, Pros and Cons of Budgeting. Let's read the warning labels on these tools. Like any piece of heavy machinery,
Budgets have massive strengths, but they definitely come with specific pros and cons. They brilliantly facilitate coordination, communication, and they're a completely natural complement to your initial planning. However, applying them way too rigidly is a major weakness. If all your funds are locked tightly into specific operating budgets, it might stifle innovation and literally block you from jumping on an unexpected, highly profitable opportunity.
So, how do you actually avoid those traps? Well, ensure your system uses these 4 strategies. You definitely need top management support and clear performance info. But particularly, you've got to make sure lower-level managers actively participate in drafting the budgets they'll have to follow. Giving department managers a reasonable degree of latitude in shifting funds around ensures they stay flexible, agile, and engaged.
Finally, Section 5, Beyond Budgets. Let's look at some alternative controls. The first alternative tool is the operational or internal audit. Think of this as an independent appraisal of your enterprise's operations. It goes way beyond just verifying that the accounting numbers add up. It weighs actual results against planned ones, it appraises procedures, and checks the overall quality of management to ensure total organizational integrity.
Next up, we have milestone budgeting. This is an absolutely game-changing tactic, especially in engineering and development. Instead of staring at a massive multi-year project as one giant intimidating block, you break it down into identifiable segments. When a specific milestone is accomplished, you can immediately determine its cost and results before even moving on to the next piece.
Then there is PERT, or Program Evaluation and Review Technique. It sounds complicated, but it uses these 4 steps to visually map out time-consuming elements. Think of it kind of like planning the incredibly complex assembly of an airplane, which is a great example from the source text. You map out every single event, arrange them in a network chart, and then you estimate the activity time that elapses between each step.
Now, the crucial point of a PERT chart is step 4, computing this thing called the critical path. This is the specific sequence of events that takes the longest time and has absolutely zero slack. By identifying this path right at the start, managers are given a forward-looking control mechanism. You basically monitor this specific sequence like a hawk to ensure the entire program stays strictly on schedule.
While PERT forces really fantastic, rigorous planning and highlights your critical bottlenecks, we have to talk about its limitations. The primary warning here is that accurately estimating future activity time is notoriously difficult. Stuff happens, right? Furthermore, while it's brilliant for managing a time schedule, it largely ignores the cost aspect of the project. So it's a great tool, but definitely not a cure-all.
Our final toolkit item today is the Management Information System, or MIS. A true MIS goes way beyond just collecting data. It utilizes computers and operations research to process raw, qualitative, and quantitative data into actionable insights. Because remember, data doesn't magically become useful information until it's processed into a format that actually informs your real-world decisions about things like labor productivity or product costs.
And that brings our Introduction to Management Explainer to a close. From flexible systems and zero-based budgets to PERT charts and internal audits, you now have a pretty comprehensive toolkit. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final provocative question. When you finally step into that leadership role and you become the manager calling the shots, which of these tools are you going to reach for first to tame the chaos? Think about it. Thanks for joining me today, and keep learning.